What's up, guys? It's Diego from the Foot and Fist Sports Network. I'm going to talk a little bit about the European Super Cup game from last night. It was Real Madrid versus Man United, and unfortunately for me and my fellow United fans, it was a 2-1 win for Real Madrid. Now, I've been seeing a lot of reactions to this, and it's been getting some mixed feelings. Obviously, for a lot of people, and usually this depends on whether you win the game or lose, it's just a friendly where there's a prize where basically you just win a cup at the end if you do win it. So basically, depending on whether you win or lose, that's how people react to it. It's either a great trophy to win or it's a useless trophy. For me, it's one of those trophies where you are taking on the winner of the Champions League. If you won the Europa League like we did, you're taking on the best team in Europe. Whether if you are like the Champions League winners in Real Madrid's case, then maybe if you're playing against a small European team, then it's not that big a deal. But if you're playing against a team like Man United, who are, historically one of your main Champions League rivals, then obviously it's going to be a game of a certain importance. And I think based on the way that both teams went out there and played, it really was a game that both teams really wanted to win. They both definitely cared about getting the trophy. And the biggest thing is, I've been seeing a lot of United fans in particular reacting very hastily about this. Now, for me personally, coming into this game, and I was going to do a prediction video, but I didn't have the time to do it. And I did expect Real Madrid to win. And anybody who expected United to go out there and dominate Real Madrid is just plain stupid. And I've been seeing a lot of people sitting there like, our midfield is garbage. Or some stupid things like that. But our midfield isn't amazing, okay? But you can't compare your midfield to Real Madrid's. Not even Barcelona can really compare their midfield to Real Madrid's. I mean, Kroos, Modric, in this case, Isco and Casemiro is the very best midfield you will ever find. I mean, maybe not ever, but it is up there with the very best. I would say it's up there with the Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets midfield from back a few years ago when they were really all in their prime. That was one of the best midfields of all time, and this one is no less. Is no inferior, and I think that this is actually the better midfield of the two. So for us to go out there and only lose 2-1, and for the most part hold our own, I think it's a very solid result. I'm very optimistic about that after seeing that game. And honestly, I was shocked to see people be that down on it, especially United fans who have been used to, over the past few seasons, having some really bad games against some really elite teams. And yes, it is early on in the season, but Real Madrid they showed in that game that they are still very, very good. They're already firing on all cylinders. And yes, Ronaldo didn't play except for the last 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20. But still, we had a very good game against a very, very good team, the very best team in the world. And make no mistake about it, losing only 2-1 to Real Madrid, even if it is early doors, is definitely nothing to be ashamed of, and especially because of the fact that we created a lot of chances. In fact, in the first 20 minutes, for the most part, I thought that we were at least at the same level as Real Madrid. Yes, the last half of the first half, Real Madrid were absolutely dominant, and the Casemiro goal came at a time when Real Madrid were absolutely pushing and it looked like they were going to absolutely get a goal. The goal was offsides. That has to be said. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain because Real Madrid were looking like they were eventually going to break us down and get a goal. And it was a beautiful move. Casemiro was just barely offsides, but he was offside. But at the end of the day, Real Madrid deserved to be in the lead. And then when they went up 2-0, it looked like the game was over. Honestly, it looked like we weren't going to be able to find a way in there, even though we did do some very good things to be able to. We created quite a few chances before we actually got our own goal, before we got our first goal and our only goal. But at the end of the day, I think that Real Madrid, they did have some problems defending against us because we did show that we have the ability to create, especially, there was a chance early on, I think it was, where Pogba, on the right, he had Mkhitaryan, on the left, he had Lingard, and for some reason, and Lingard was covered, but Mkhitaryan was completely wide open, so Ramos was in front of Pogba, and for some reason, he decided not to pass it over to Mkhitaryan or even attempt to pass it over to Lingard. He decided to take a long-range shot, which ended up bouncing. I think it was off Sergio Ramos. So that was a very big mistake, but at the end of the day, that did show that on the counterattack, we were very well able to create Real Madrid a lot of problems. And Mkhitaryan, I think, missed a shot early on that could have gone in. Lukaku missed a sitter, like a completely wide-open goal before we got our 2-1 goal. And at the end of the day, we had a lot of chances. The big difference here was that Real Madrid, when they did take their chances, they either hit the post or they scored. They only missed 2 or 3 shots maybe that were off target. And at the end of the day, we just had a very, very good performance against a team that's tremendous. I mean, they are the best team, if not the best team ever, one of the best teams ever, because they are the only team in the Champions League era, so not counting when it was called the European Cup, but in the Champions League era to have won it 2 years in a row, and they've won it 3 times in the past 4 years. I mean, if you're comparing yourself to that team, then you can't expect, especially with the young players that we have, because if you look at our roster, we are a very young team that in the next 2 or maybe 3 years could explode into a Real Madrid level team. Obviously, having to bring in a few players and hoping that some of these players really do develop into some elite GOAT level players, then we could be a Real Madrid level team right in the next couple years. But as of right now, we have a very young base. We have some really good players like Pogba, who even if he's only like 23, 24, he is still an elite player. We have players like even Matic, who last season was very important for Chelsea. So we bring him in is a very good thing, especially because of the fact that that means that Pogba is going to be more freed up. So that means that, we have the potential in the next couple of years to really compete as one of the best teams. But right now, realistically, considering what we've done in the preseason, even against Barcelona, considering we were the more fresh team because we had played more, well, not the more fresh team, but we had more preseason games under our belt. So we should have been the, I guess you could say, the team with the better chance of winning because we were the fresher team. Not the fresher team, I keep on saying that. We were the team that had the most energy in our legs because we've been playing the most. And so we were expected to be the most prepared team because of the fact that we had more preseason time. Unfortunately, Barcelona beat us, and they really showed that they were a superior team. Maybe not like a much more superior team, but they were definitely showing that as a midfield and even as an attacking team in general, they were still very superior to us. So Real Madrid, obviously, we're going to be superior to us. I didn't expect us to go out there and dominate Real Madrid. I expected exactly what happened to happen, us to be playing on the counterattack. The only thing I could possibly say is the only thing I would have changed is Darmian. Because, and listen, I've been seeing Darmian play for a long time because I live in Italy. I've said that many times. But if you're new to this channel, I do live in Italy. So unfortunately, I see a lot of highlights. City, I think, is atrocious. But still, even when he was with Torino, Darmian is a player that's very good at defending, but has awful feet. Now, what I mean by that is, if you see his crossing, a lot of the times they don't get past the first defender. They don't get any height to him, and that is the same thing that happens with his clearances. A lot of times his clearances are just atrocious. He makes a lot of dumb mistakes. And that's what happened a few times against Real Madrid, and that's probably the only thing I would have changed. But realistically, Luke Shaw, I don't think is fit at all. And I think that Blind maybe wasn't going to fit there because of the fact that he was having to play against Bale, and Bale was playing on the left, but Darmian was playing against who was on the right. Isco was sort of moving in around all those areas, so that's kind of a different story. But realistically, he was going to have to play against a guy like Carvajal, who was very quick. So overall, it was going to be hard for him to be able to play that role, and I understand why he played Darmian. I don't think that Darmian is going to be the starting player, especially moving forward. But, that's pretty much the only thing I could really say I would change about the starting lineup. Maybe just Lingard, but I understand why he did that. He wanted to play a more defensive style, and Lingard offers a very much more defensive, he offers a lot more defensive qualities than, say, Martial on the left. So I understand why he did that. I would have liked to play a bit more offensive, but realistically, when you play against Real Madrid, especially this early on in the season where you're not really playing for anything other than a trophy, like a trophy that's not that big of a deal, but it's still a trophy. I understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to play a more defensive formation and go more of a counter-attacking, hoping Lukaku could really dominate. And obviously that's going to be very tough against defenders of the quality of Sergio Ramos. We're talking about Sergio Ramos, one of the best defenders in the world, and Varane, who is easily one of the top 15 best center backs in the world because he is tremendous. He's very fast. He's very physically strong. He's just overall one of the best players you could think of when it comes to center backs. He's got everything that you could want from him, and he is a truly tremendous player. So for Lukaku, it was always going to be a very tough thing to do to dominate those guys, and he did a pretty decent job. And most importantly, the biggest takeaway I have from this game is Marcus Rashford at 20 years old now, 19, 20 years old, has the confidence of a truly tremendous player. He came on off the bench, he went out there, and he was immediately attacking Carvajal, he was immediately attacking Sergio Ramos, he was going one-on-one with these guys, even two-on-one at times, and he was showing he has the quality to get past those guys as well. We saw in his move where he should have scored, realistically, where it was narrowly saved by Keylor Navas, but it was a poor shot with his left foot. Obviously he's right-footed, but still, I would have expected better from a guy like him. He showed that he has the ability in his movement, and not just being a player who can burn past players. He is a guy who has a lot of skill, and this year, I think this is going to be an even more breakout season than the past couple of years, because we saw in his debut season, he came out there, nobody really knew what to expect from him, and he was just tremendous. Last season, he had a very difficult start to the season, but he started to turn on a bit later on. I think that right now, through preseason, and especially in this game against Real Madrid, he's really shown he's fucking on. He's fucking on, and I expect him in the Premier League, where we're not going to be playing against teams as good as Real Madrid, and especially against defenses not as good as Real Madrid. I think we are going to go out there, and we're going to absolutely have a tremendous player in Rashford. He's going to get a lot of goals. And there have been people saying, our team is still slow, and I do agree with that. That is something that we do have problems with. But realistically, we have to look at what we did against some of the smaller teams. What we did against Sampdoria, for example, we played a very good game. Against Barcelona, too, we still had a very good game in the first half. Against Real Madrid in the preseason, we had a decent game. It wasn't very good, but there were some positives there. And overall, I think that we are very, very good. Are we able to win the Premier League? We're going to have to find out. That's going to be... I'm going to have my predictions out in what? Today's Tuesday that I'm filming it. Wednesday. And the Premier League starts on Saturday. So my predictions will probably be out by Friday. Tomorrow, tonight, all day today, and probably tomorrow I'll be doing some research. And I'll have my video out probably Friday. So, I think that United can win the league. We'll win the league. You'll see my predictions up in the next few days. I do think that we still need a few signings. Based on what we've seen, we still need a couple signings to really be at I would say a semi-final Champions League level. Because, like I've said in the past few videos, I don't expect United to be making the semi-finals. I think we are a quarterfinal team. And reaching the semi-finals would be a massive achievement based on the players we have. And that might not seem like I'm very optimistic, but I am actually very optimistic with the team. I just think that's going to take a couple, this season I think we'll be battling for the league title for sure, if not winning it. Well, I'll tell you in the next couple of days what I really think. I don't think in the Champions League, though, we are still very, very far away from being one of the elite teams. I think that Juventus, if we were to come up against them, because they lost 2-0 to Tottenham, but I think that Juventus, once they really start clicking with the new players they have and really start performing the way that we know Juventus will play, I think Juventus would smash us. I think Real Madrid would smash us later on in the season when they are really firing on all cylinders. I think Barcelona would beat us. I think PSG, now they have Neymar, would beat us. I think Man City are at least on a level. Chelsea, the same thing. I think the best teams in Europe are at least as good as us, and there's a few, like 2 or 3, that are definitely superior to us. So that is something to take in mind. But I think that right now, people are very wrong to be so down on the team. And it's obviously not all of us. There are a lot of people that are like, yes, we had a disappointing result, but we had a good game against the very best team you could possibly play against. And I think that's something that has to be considered. We were playing against the best team in Europe, best team in the world. So to lose against them 2-1 in the game we also could have gotten at least a draw, it's not that big a deal. It's not that fucking bad a loss. It's a fucking good loss. We played very well considering the opposition we were against. And I'm not mad at that at all. I'm actually very happy with the performance. When I ended that game, that game ended, I was disappointed for the result, especially because Lukaku missed a sitter. Rashford missed a goal that he should have scored. And yes, Real Madrid hit the post a few times, but at the end of the day, I was like, man, that was a pretty close game. Regardless of what happened those last 25 minutes of the first half, it was a very close game. Real Madrid weren't supremely superior except for that little spell. So I was actually very satisfied with what I saw. I thought coming into the Premier League, where we're going to be playing against teams that are nowhere near Real Madrid's level, yes, City are good, Chelsea are good, but they simply aren't on that level. I think we could do a lot of damage because we did some damage on Real Madrid. We could have gotten a 2-2 draw, taken it to extra time, and possibly won on penalties, something like that. You never know what could have happened then. But we weren't that much inferior to Real Madrid. And considering the fact that wasn't even our main starting lineup, because let's be very, very clear. Chris Smalling isn't a starter. Eric Bailly is a starter. And even Lindelof, I'm not very convinced by him. And obviously, Jose Mourinho signing him for £30 million, he has to see some qualities that I haven't seen him play at Benfica, so I haven't really seen him play in a system that he's familiar with and with some players that he's familiar with. And obviously, it's going to take some time for him to develop at this level because the Superliga, which is the Portuguese league, is nowhere near as good as the Premier League or the Champions League, obviously. So it's going to take him some time, but I haven't been convinced at all by his performances. I'm hoping that he will prove me wrong, and I'm hoping that he will turn out to be a tremendous player for United, but I just have my doubts. I have my worries that he maybe isn't quite ready right now. Eric Bailly, without a doubt, is ready. He's a tremendous defender, one of the best defenders that you'll see in the Premier League this season, So it was a big loss for him to be suspended. I think that we would have had a much better chance of winning this game if Bailly was playing, but you have to play the cards that you dealt with. So Smalling isn't a starter. Darmian is nowhere near a starter because Rojo would start before him. Even Rojo would start before Smalling, but unfortunately Rojo was out for until like March. I think Luke Shaw, without a doubt, is the starter, and even Blind, I would say, is ahead of Darmian in terms of rankings in left back position, and even right back. I don't think Darmian is a second string player. I do think that we need to strengthen the fullback position because I think that as good as Antonio Valencia is at defending and attacking, I think he's kind of wasted in defense because he is so tremendous at attacking. So I would love to see a player like Aurier be brought in, depending on what happens with his appeal. I don't think there's been an official ruling. It was supposed to be like 2 days ago, and there hasn't been any news as far as I know about it. So if we do end up signing Aurier, I think that's a huge step in the right direction because he's a very solid player. He's one of the most promising right backs in the game, and he is just a very, very, very good player. So that would be a good step in the right direction. That would allow us to have Valencia attacking more, which is only good for the team. Another thing I really want to see is a left midfielder because what we have is a lot of left wingers, but they aren't real left wingers. They're Martial, who is a striker adapted to playing on the left. Then we have Rashford, who sometimes plays on the left as well. We don't really have a left winger or left midfielder, so to speak, that was able to put in a lot of crosses like, say, Valencia used to do playing in right midfield. I think that we need a player who can deliver in crosses because Lukaku has to exploit his size and his power. And with players like Pogba there, he's a very big guy as well, there's a chance of us having a huge height advantage, especially if, at times Fellaini plays. There's a good chance of us exploiting that, and if we do that, then there's a good chance of us being very dangerous in very different ways than we already are when it comes to having players like Mkhitaryan, Rashford, and players like that on the pitch. So I think we need a midfielder who can really put in some great, dangerous balls, and that would be a huge step as well for the right direction. But I think that right now, even if we do start this Premier League season with the team we have, we are, if not title contenders, then definitely guys that'll be within 9 points of the title, and obviously that would be disappointing. But I do think that we are a team that can easily compete with the very best teams in the Premier League and win the title. I think we have a good chance of winning the title, honestly, because of Jose Mourinho, his tactical abilities, and I do think that today is the 9th of August. There's still 11 days, maybe I think there's 31 days in August too, so there's still 12 days left in August to sign in some players. And knowing Jose Mourinho and knowing the fact that he has played against a team like Real Madrid in a non-preseason format, he will have realized that there's still some stuff missing, regardless of injuries and stuff like that. And we do need some players to really make this an elite Champions League level team. And I do think that we will bring in at least one more player, and I'm hoping it will be Aurier. Obviously, the fact that he allegedly attacked a police officer, if he did do that and he is ruled to where that he is guilty, then fuck it. That's what he deserves. But at the end of the day, if he is proving innocent and stuff like that, then he has the right to move to England, and I think that he would be a solid signing for us. And obviously, Perisic is a player that we've been linked to a lot. I would like to see Perisic come over here. I don't think he's an amazing player, but he does bring us something very different than what we already have. Like I said, some really good crosses, and he is a very good runner. I haven't seen him play a lot, but my friend Vittorio, shout out to Vittorio, he is an Inter fan. He's been telling me, he's a really good player. People underestimate him. And the biggest thing about him is that he puts in a lot of effort. He is a very, very fast player. He runs for days, and I think that's something that we could definitely use in the Premier League. And the fact that he would have a lot more space than he doesn't have in City, I would possibly favor him even more. And I think that would be a pretty good signing, but they want Martial or £50 million, and it doesn't seem like United want to budge on that. I think that maybe later on, United might go ahead and give the £50 million if they don't find a different replacement. People have been talking about Bale, but I don't think Bale's coming over. I'm like, why would you want to leave Real Madrid to come to us? Unless Zidane flat out says, listen, you're going to be a bench warmer for us all season. So that would possibly be the only reason. And yes, that is Donald Duck. That would be the only reason I could possibly see Bale coming over to us. But I don't think it's going to happen. So Perisic, if for some reason we end up wanting to have a player like that, I think it would be a very solid signing, and one that would be very happy to bring in. But apart from that, I am happy with what happened in the game last night. We weren't that inferior to Real Madrid except for that 25 minute spell. Other than that, I think we were definitely a very good team. We showed that we have what it takes to go against some of the best teams in Europe. Maybe not win, but I do think that we have at least what it takes to go out there and compete with them. There aren't a lot of teams that can go out there and say that. And we've seen, even City, when they go against the best teams, they get smashed. Chelsea, obviously, weren't in the Champions League last season, but they haven't really had the best of times. Now that Chelsea are playing in the Champions League this season, now that Man City are still in the Champions League and all that stuff, it's going to be a huge season for United with Jose Mourinho in his second season, which is traditionally where he shines the most. we're going to see what we can really do. And I do have a lot of optimism after that game. Like I said, there's a lot of people that aren't as optimistic as me. They're talking about how we need to sign in like a intelligent central midfielder who's a very creative. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? We just spent 80-something million pounds for Pogba, who is exactly that. He's one of the most creative midfielders out there. He still has to improve. He still has to prove himself in some of the huge games, but he is one of the best midfielders out there. Henrik Mkhitaryan is an assist machine. He's a goal machine when it comes to the big occasions. He is a fucking creative midfielder. He's not really a midfielder. He's more like a winger, but he is a creative player, and there's absolutely no reason why he can't be one of our most creative players, and he is personally my favorite player on the team. Like, absolutely, he is my most favorite player to watch in the team. His movement is amazing. His finishing is slick. His passing is tremendous. He is my favorite player, and I think that Paul Pogba is also a very intelligent player who doesn't get as much credit as he should from a lot of the United fans, just because I think that they get a lot of knee-jerk reactions. We fucking lost. We lost 2-1, and we at times got dominated in that game, but we lost to fucking Real Madrid. I mean, how many teams can say they went out there and they fought head-to-head, close game with Real Madrid for the majority of the game and only lost 2-1? How many teams can say that? Juventus can't fucking say that. They lost 4-1, and they had a good first half, but they collapsed in the second half. And obviously that was a much bigger game, a much bigger format. It was a much more important game. And it was against a Real Madrid team who were at the end of the season, so they were much more developed in their chemistry and stuff like that. But Real Madrid really haven't changed. They really haven't changed in their approach and their team. They haven't really made any big signings. They signed a left back, I think it was, Hernandez, or maybe a right back. But they haven't really brought in any players that are like, damn, like that's going to really change the way the team plays. They're still the same Real Madrid, still the same manager. So for them to already be formatted or set up in that system that they're very familiar with, that has brought them so much success, for us to go out there and really push them in a hard game to where we could have gotten 2-2. Remember that. We could have gotten 2-2 if it wasn't for our two strikers making mistakes. Then we have nothing to be ashamed of. We have only optimism to be bringing in. Be supportive of your fucking club. Be supportive of your team. Have faith in the manager and have faith in what he's developing, because with Martial, Rashford, Pogba still developing, having Fosu Mensah on loan, having Andres Pereira, who's looking tremendous throughout preseason. There are so many young, solid players in this team, and there's absolutely no reason to be worried about this season. There's absolutely no chance of us being as shit as we were last season. To have won the Europa League, listen, our defense was great last season. We were the second best defense in the league last season, behind only, guess who? The league winners Chelsea, who were led by, guess what? An Italian manager who are always masters at defending, who, guess what? Had won many titles with Juventus and was a tremendous manager in the Euros with Italy. That was the only person that out-defended us in the league, with a much better defense than we had, with Cahill, with Zuma, I think, was still there, and maybe he left in January, with John Terry, who was at the end of his career, but is still a very decent defender. Who else did they have? They had David Luiz, who was bought for like 40 million pounds. They had a much better defense than we had, and we were still able to get somewhat close to them. Our only problem was scoring goals. What did we sign? We signed Nemanja Matic, who's a defensive midfielder, is going to improve our defense, and he showed in that game that he was a tremendous signing. He had a tremendous game. He was phenomenal in that game. He showed that he can defend with the best of the defensive midfielders out there. He may not be Conte because of Conte's energy, but he is a tremendous, and he's one of the best players in his role out there. So I was shocked that Chelsea allowed us to have him, and honestly, I'm extremely happy with that signing. And most importantly, he's going to free up Pogba. He's going to be a lot more offensive. He's going to have a lot more passing. He's going to have a lot more assists. He's going to have a lot more goals. And against Real Madrid, that was always going to be difficult to do because Real Madrid is so fucking good. So there can't be held to be like, oh my god, Pogba was shit in that game. He was playing against the best midfield trio, and even Isco up front, who's playing more like a free roaming central attacking midfielder. You can't really say like, oh my god, our midfield is shit against the very best midfield team. Did you see what they fucking did to Juventus' midfield last season? They obliterated them. And they had amazing players like Khedira. They had elite players out there. They had Khedira. Who else was in their central midfield last season? I think Marquisio was on the bench, but even he's a tremendous player. Who else did they have? I'm having a fucking blank right now. Whatever. One of the best midfielders out there, and they destroyed one of the best defense, the very best defense in Europe last season. They destroyed them 4-0. There was just a tremendous performance from Real Madrid. How can you expect United, a team where Pogba, obviously a future great player, he's already an amazing player, but a future like GOAT level player. Herrera, who's a really good player. He isn't as technically gifted as anybody on Real Madrid's team. Maybe Casemiro, but Casemiro is more of a defensive midfielder, whereas Herrera is more of a box-to-box kind of guy. And the fact that Herrera puts in a lot of effort doesn't deny the fact that he's not on the same level as the midfielders at Real Madrid. Matic, a central defensive midfielder, he just got there. That was his second game. He hadn't played 45 minutes before his first preseason game was like 3 days ago. Well, 3 days before this one. So you can't really expect us to be on the same level as Real Madrid, regardless of what we have potential-wise, like this player-to-player ability. You can't expect this, considering the fact that we still have such a lot of new players to develop in there. You can't expect us to be on Real Madrid's level. At least I have no idea why people would possibly expect that. So, honestly, we had a great game against Real Madrid. We had a disappointing result, not a disappointing game. We could have gotten a 2-2 draw. Yes, Real Madrid hit the post, but we could have gotten a 2-2 draw and taken it to extra time. We were unlucky not to. At the end, and Real Madrid also had an offside goal. Let's not forget that. Real Madrid kind of got lucky with that goal. They were dominating us, but they kind of got lucky that goal wasn't disallowed. He was clearly offsides. He had like an arm. It was like this, I think, something like that. So he had like half of his body that was offsides. So the sideline ref blew it right there. At the end of the day, you can't deny the fact that Real Madrid were the superior team, but they weren't like supremely superior. It's not like we beat the fuck out of us the whole game. We were in that game the whole damn time, except for those second 25 minutes of the first half. We were in the game the whole fucking time, and I'm very excited for the upcoming season. Sunday, United versus West Ham at Old fucking Trafford. I'm smacking the fuck out of my leg because I am actually fucking excited. At Old Trafford, I think we're going to smash West Ham. I honestly do. West Ham, they brought in Chicharito. It's going to be nice to see Chicharito back at Old Trafford, even if he is with a different team. He's still one of my favorite players of all time to wear the shirt because of the effort he put in. He was just such a likable guy. But at the end of the day, man, we're going to beat the fuck out of West Ham. I truly believe that, and I truly believe it's going to be a tremendous campaign for United. Like I said, I don't necessarily think we're going to win the Champions League. I don't think we're going to make it to the semifinals. But if you look at the big picture, which is what we're supposed to try to be achieving this season, that is becoming Premier League champions right now. And I think we have a great chance of becoming the champions of England once again, and really showing what we can do in the upcoming years in the Champions League with Martial developing into a phenomenal player. Wow, that was a lot of spit. Rashford becoming a phenomenal player. There's a lot to look forward to with this United team. There's so much to look forward to. And if you are underestimating us, I'll see you at the end of the fucking season. We'll be talking about this. I'll be fucking roasting all you little bitches out there who are talking shit about us. Mark my words. Mark my fucking words. It's going to be a great season for us. We're going to do some great things. And we're going to be looking very, very good for the future. So mark my words, motherfuckers. We're going to be seeing you very, very soon. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share, especially United fans. I'm sure that you would agree, for the most part, you'll agree with what I said. But if you didn't, let me know why. Why you disagree, why you think I'm a little bit too optimistic. But if you do disagree, also let me know why. Because, hey, this is just a fucking community out here. Tell me exactly why you think we're going to be shit. Why do you think we're going to fail? And let me know exactly what you think is going to happen to us throughout the season. Most importantly, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of last night's game. Did you think that we were as good as I think we were? Or do you think that we were just completely outclassed in an atrocious format, in an atrocious way? Let me know all these things in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Tune in to the Foot and Fist Sports Network for MMA news, MMA stories, fight fallout shows, breakdowns, football news, football breakdowns. The Premier League breakdown, like I said, is going to be coming down very, very soon in the next couple of days. It's going to be huge. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been Diego from the Foot and Fist Sports Network, and I will see you in the next video.